Today's episode feels like one of those conversations where everything kind of connects in ways you don't expect. We're talking with Whit Hertford, who a lot of you will recognize from A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 and Jurassic Park. But what really struck me is how much of his life has been shaped by art in all its forms. We get into painting, writing, acting, even cooking, and how those creative outlets became something more than just expression. For Whit, they've been a place to go when life gets difficult, a way to process grief, stress, and everything in between. And honestly, it lines up so closely with what we talk about on this show all the time, that horror and creativity can both be spaces where healing actually happens. There's also a moment early on where he and I realize we share something pretty heavy, losing a parent at a young age. And you can hear how that kind of experience shapes the way someone sees the world and how they create within it. This is one of those episodes that starts with horror, but goes a lot deeper into what it means to create, to cope, and to keep going. Here's our conversation with Whit.
Our theme is about horror being good for mental wellness, but I've also always appreciated the fact that art is so good for mental wellness as well. Can you start off talking just a little bit about how the different types of arts have been helpful in just your own mental capacity?
I mean, within the last 7-8 years, I've really noticed that because I've curated the art that I make and the art that I'm interested in and attracted to is very specific to me, that it's always kind of a nice, safe space for me to go back to. If it's a hard day at work, if there's a thing with a relationship, if there's a thing in the world or news, that to pull away and to take myself to a place of creation, which sounds kind of hokey, but it's true. Whether it's me being here at the laptop and writing on a script I'm working on, or painting. I have a bunch of my abstracts around the house. Abstract painting is a thing that I didn't ever do until about 3.5 years ago. And my sister, I have 2 younger sisters, and the one closest to me in age has 2 visual arts degrees. I was doing this one play that I wrote that was kind of this really strange abstract meditation on Oedipus and Antigone, father-daughter relationship. And I was really happy with it, excited about it. But it was a lot of work. I mean, I was playing Oedipus, so I was blind and not really talking for 75 minutes whilst like half naked, bloody, and wailing and crying. It was a big acting exercise. And I did not anticipate playing that role. The actress was like, I couldn't find a 65-year-old actor to play this role in LA. And so she was like, you have enough gray in your beard that you could play my dad. I was like, how dare you? She was right. Anyway. So we were in rehearsals, and I was just like, I feel like as a cast and as a group, we should just paint one rehearsal. And so I asked my sister about it, and I was like, I've never really put acrylics or oils to a canvas. How do you do that? And she gave me some cool, just like basic steps. And I was off and running, and I really loved it. It kind of came out of me in a very organic way. And that was that, to use, the word in your title, was really healing. She found out I was selling these and that galleries and collectors were inquiring about my paintings. And she wasn't too happy about that. She did talk to me for about 2 or 3 weeks. She was like, who do you think you are? That just like your first 3 paintings you can start selling for. Who do you think you are? She's right. But I am rather ambitious that way. So again, whether it's the painting, whether it's the writing, I'm also one of my many survival gigs I've done over. I'm a sous chef, and so I really like cooking. And I think there's a lot of artistry within that. I take it really seriously. I like the presentation of food. I like the menu selection. I like the flavor profiles. I like all of the creation of it. When I was really little, when I had a really traumatic thing to kind of set everything in my life on course when I was 10, I went to my drums and I beat the hell out of my drums, which is a form of artistry, or I would draw, or I'd watch a movie. And yeah, is a thing that like whenever I meet somebody that's like, I don't feel very artistic, I don't feel very creative. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's art in everything we do. Like you wake up and you pick 2 socks you're going to wear. Either they match or they don't match. That's an artistic decision.
That's a cool perspective to have. And yeah, I'm right there with you with the cooking. My grandmother taught me to bake when I was like 5 years old, and cooking for friends and family is one of my favorite things. And I tinkered around with the idea of opening a St. Louis themed restaurant in Oakland, California, because St. Louis has some certain dishes that are only in St. Louis. But I don't think I would be fulfilled trying to do that as a career. It brings me joy to cook for people that I love.
It's a very dangerous thing. I was told this growing up. It was like, pick the thing that you want to make money at as the thing that like isn't your special space.
Right.
Because you'll grow to hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody has the option to do that, but I certainly have tried to do that, where the things that are special to me, I don't really like try to overly monetize them or make them too stressy. The paintings for me, it's like if somebody wants to buy one, they can buy one. But I'm in no ways like, I think I've done one show over the last 3 years, and I don't really market myself. It's very private. And I think that as long as I can keep that way, and same with my scripts, like I've never been published. I've been produced many, many times, but my plays have never been published. Maybe that's something I would do in the future. But for me, it's like, they're my kids. They're my creations. They're very sacred to me. And maybe I'm being a little holier than thou and self-righteous about it. But for me, I'm not on the streets yet, so I'm still able to pay the bills.
You have to have passions. And not my mother, my adopted mother's child, obviously, but she was a fantastic painter. And one of the things that I love about my formative years is that she and I took painting classes together. And that was just, it was such a touch point for me, for my life. And I was never half as good as she ever could be, but it just meant so much to go through that with her. And then she became ill and died. And she died when I was 10, which made me, when you said, when you said that something happened in your life when you were 10, it brought that back to me, because that's when I lost her.
Yeah, we're in the club, buddy. It was my dad. My dad passed away when I was 10.
My mother died when I was 10 and my dad when I was 16. And,
holy smokes.
Yeah. And then 30 years later, I found my biological family on both sides.
So yeah, he's the oldest of 7.
Good. Oh my goodness. Here's one of the paintings here. I'll show you. Here's one of my guys right now.
Ooh, I love it. I love abstract art. And I love that you use the inspiration from your past work to inform your art.
Sometimes I do that. That's probably me, because I like the fans and I like the fan interaction. So yeah, I'll do that once in a while.
Would you be open to having prints made and bringing them to cons? Because I think the fans would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've even brought little 11 by 14 canvases.
Cool.
And kind of sold those off. They're a little more pricey, you know, they're not going to be like the $60 a photo would be, but they're not outrageous, especially for, you know, fine art. Okay. I know that a couple of my Nightmare cohorts sell a lot of their own sort of swag outside of the pictures, and it does really well.
We had Adrienne King on the show, and she paints images of Alice in the rowboat. And
oh, wow.
They're really cool.
And she and then her paintings, like she had a line of lines that she used the paintings on the labels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when you're at a con, how quickly can you, who's a Jurassic fan and who's a Nightmare on Elm Street fan?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Especially if they're wearing the shirt. But if they're not wearing the shirt, some of the tips are, you know, the age range. Horror fans they're their own breed.
Yeah.
And there's an energy that is unmistakable. But yeah, that's a funny question. I've thought about that before because I've been at the table and been sitting next to another actor, and I'm like, I bet it's this. And I'm like, always right. Always right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to WhatsApp our cousin Sean after this because Jurassic Park is one of his favorite flick, if not his favorite flick of all time. I'm like, guess who we just talked to?
Yeah. Hey, man, it's pretty wild. I was very, maybe a little shy, maybe a little pretentious about doing conventions. So I kind of jumped on it a little bit late in the game. Now they're like even more saturated because I think the economy and the pandemic made everyone that's been on any TV show or film ever in the history of forever. They were like, oh, we can go to a con and that can be a good business idea. When it used to just be horror and genre specific.
Yeah.
Now it's come meet the guys from Big Bang. It's okay.
Yes. Like,
no offense, but okay.
Yeah. The Monster Mania convention I was at, I was like, so John Lovitz from Saturday Night Live. That's not horror.
No, there's enough to go around, but you know, I'm probably just not even that good at it. Like I have a nightmare cohort where, and it's not Lisa. Lisa's very good at it, but I have another nightmare cohort who it's like her whole gig, and she's very smart about it. She networks like crazy, and it's a 24/7 thing for her. I don't really view it that way. I like it as a special thing. Would I love to go to more? Yeah. I'd love to go to one a month or one every 2 months.
Yeah.
It ebbs and flows.
That also needs to be a passion, though. You know what I mean? If you don't enjoy it that much, then...
Yeah, I think...
That's what bums me out when I first started doing it. And I would go and I would see actors. Usually they're a little older. And they would be like assholes. And they would be looking down. And they wouldn't interact with the... And I'm like, that looks so poorly on the rest of us. Yeah. And I'm like, if you don't want... Get out of here, man.
Yeah. You don't want to meet your fans.
You don't have to be here.
Yeah.
And every fan that I've met, every con that I've gone to, the fans are the greatest. And really, like, even the people that work it, there's only been one promoter out of maybe 25, 30 conventions that was a little sketch.
I just think the community, and it runs the gamut of demographics and stuff. You've got babies dressed up as Pennywise the Clown, and grandma in the wheelchair can't wait to meet Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Everybody fits in. It doesn't matter who you are. You can start a conversation with anybody. But I love that. And I think 90+% of the celebrities that attend, I think they get that. To see Matthew Lillard stay an extra 2.5 hours because he wants to make sure everybody in line gets to meet him and everybody gets a hug and people like Gen Z, like Scream is their Nightmare on Elm Street. For me. So like when they get to meet those folks, it's like they just can't believe
Matthew is an incredibly nice person.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost kind of jealous of him because I'm like, I'm sure people have other words they use for when they meet me, like intense or like creepy. I wish to be the nice guy is like, I'm so jealous. I wish I was the nice guy.
Well, you're very charming, so I think hopefully that comes across at the cons. Yeah, it's just, and I love, and people do complain about it, and I don't know if you've heard this, but Robert Englund will spend 10, 15 minutes per sharing story.
I don't know how he has the stamina.
I don't know how he does it, but it's...
Because I think he's doing probably 12 a year.
Yeah.
That was the thing is like, I had started doing these conventions and reconnected with these Nightmare specifically Part 5 people that when I was 10, they were 18, 19, 20, maybe early 20s. But like they were so cool and I wanted to hang out with them, but I was 10. Like they wouldn't let me hang out with them. And I remember I got in like a shuttle van with Danny Hassel and Lisa and Beatrice Betbull and Erica Anderson, and I believe Joe was there as well. Anyway, and Erica was sitting with me in the back, and I had such a crush on her when I was like 10, 11, because she's just like the best. And I looked at her, I was like, you know what? It was like really quiet in the van. I went, it's so cool that my mom's not here.
That's a great pickup line. I love that.
Because I like the last time mom was in the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you get to watch any of the nightmares when you were making it? So just to give you an idea of what was happening.
My mom was a really good manager. She's an actress herself. I threw a little shade, so now I guess I'm trying to like now glaze her a little bit.
Yes. Give some love to mom.
All love to mom. So she was really good at like getting me prepared, helping me with lines. I've never been great at memorizing lines, just never been great at it. And so it takes me extra long to figure it out. And I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries.
What actually asked? Sorry, no. This is why I was thinking about why I can't memorize lines. Because I get distracted, and then I got distracted.
I know, and I think I just got distracted too, and I can't remember what I asked. What did you think of the throwback Super Bowl Jurassic commercial where they de-aged the cast?
It's great. It's like the amount of times at conventions that people are asking why I'm not in the Jurassic World films is like numerous. Happens all the time. And so I'd love to, I would do any little cameo. I would do whatever. But it's fun. It's fun that there's a resurgence. It's just come on through this new discovery and with the new trilogy and batch of movies. And I did a mock YouTube video for some really famous Zach King or something. He did a huge recreation of Jurassic Park, but with dogs or cats, something like that. And so he had me recreate, and they got a shirt that looked exactly like my shirt and from the film. And it was fun to kind of redo that. I've been asked for years to do some sort of recreation sketch or whatever. When I was doing a lot of improv and sketch with UCB 10, 12 years ago, a lot of the times the comedians would like want to do some sort of video, and I just never felt that it was right. But when this content creator asked me to do it, I was like, yeah, that seems like that'd be fun. So let's do that.
Nice. I love that you bring up UCB because one of the best days of my life was I wrote a book called The Union of the State, which was an oral history of the comedy troupe, The State. And we did a state reunion at UCB in LA. And that was amazing.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Now, I remember what we were talking about before when we both got off track. Your mom was a great manager. She let you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Yeah, so she prepped me. She had me watch, I think I watched Nightmare 3 and Nightmare 4.
Okay.
Don't think I watched 1 and 2.
Probably for the best.
Did later.
Because those are, the one's very intense.
They're better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. That's the funny thing is like 5 is such the polarizing one of the canon. Like you love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
I've never really understood why, but yeah.
I love it.
I think it's great. It's got a lot of really good social commentary. I think Robert is in like really silly form. Yeah. Just like campy as hell. Yeah. I hadn't seen him since then. And I did a convention in, I want to say Pennsylvania. And he was there. He's the only one that he was booked on with the rest of us. Because we usually travel as like a gang.
Yeah.
But he's always separate. He doesn't really need us. He can handle it. But yeah. And so for him and I to reconnect after all these years, I think he was kind of freaked out. Like, he loved it. And he was like, look at you with all your tattoos and so rock and roll. And I started talking to him about Shakespeare. His eyes got huge. And we started talking about Richard III and Hamlet and things that I'm very interested in. I asked him to come play Claudius in Hamlet. I thought that would be amazing if we could play and father-son again.
Yeah.
And he had a schedule conflict or something like that, but I am determined to get him in. So I'm writing a screenplay right now that is a total original screenplay. I directed 2 short films last year that were kind of my first, after, years and years of directing theater and starting a directing group in London. I was going to grad school. I had never really taken that ethos and sort of the the process of how I create into the film world, because I was just kind of there, that was the job. And then in my 20s, I did dabble with a little bit of independent film, but it was always with another friend or two. So it never really felt like my vision, like the theater work had. So it was really important for me to see if I could do that. So we did 2 shorts this last year, and I'm really happy with both of them. They're both in the festival circuit. And then I wrote this now. I really would love Robert to do. I'm scared to say too much because I usually am so loose-lipped. Essentially, it's like my version of Eraserhead.
Oh, all right. All
Yeah.
right.
I
Okay.
mean, fuck it. I'll just say it. Maybe there's a producer that is out there that wants to say somebody, right? I'd be stupid not to. It's called Deathbed, and it's about a black metal musician. I'm going to play him, long hair, beard, so I'm growing the beard, and like caked Norwegian death metal makeup. And he finds out he's got 2 weeks to live, and so all the death and macabre is like his aesthetic that has defined him and that it is his world, he's now very scared of. And so it's this death metal musician that has to come to peace with dying.
Wow.
It's also a queer story. That's sort of the B storyline that kind of came out of nowhere and is I think something I'm really excited about. I'm writing and having it be part of this story. But yeah, I want to shoot it in all black and white. That's why I say Eraserhead. And so if there's somebody that's watching this that wants to help out, come find me.
I'm going to put it out into the universe that Rob Halford listens to this episode.
I mean, totally. I watched a documentary. This idea came from not only my love of David Lynch and Eraserhead, that particular movie, but 2 things. I was watching a documentary about a really scary death metal lead singer from like the 80s. And he's truly satanic and truly an intimidating force. And out of the closet, like years after his band was famous. And I think Rob Halford's handled it normal.
Yeah.
This was like a shock because this guy was like, it'd be like all of a sudden if, I don't know what a good parallel would be, but it was such a pivot and it made the study of him as a person so much more interesting to me. I was thinking about, because here in LA, after the pandemic, the sketch and improv circuit kind of changed. UCB wasn't owned by the same people anymore, and it kind of went a little corporate. And yeah, it just sort of fizzled during the pandemic. And so people started doing podcasts. People started doing YouTube channels. And that's where you get a lot of this boom in content creation, was because out of necessity, people just started doing that. And what sprung out at that time was this sort of underground clown movement here in LA. There's a theater here called the Elysium, and it's sort of the new hub, like Cool Kid Factory. And they do a lot of clown work. Like their emphasis is primarily that. I love the idea of a sad clown. I really do. And I've always wanted to play that in a certain longer format. And I thought, if you had a death metal guy that was a clown, that was a sad clown, that would be so new and interesting. And it would follow all the same rules of what clown history is and any of the Commedia dell'arte stuff. But you have this image that you wouldn't expect to evoke pathos and emotion. And so that's the idea with this film. Anyway, that's my little pet project.
Pretty cool. That sounds amazing. Yeah.
Hope so.
We're going to put it out in the universe. Good things happen.
Please do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. What memories do you have from the Nightmare days? Aside from flirting with
Erica? Remember the audition? I remember that I think I only auditioned once or twice. I got it pretty quickly. The original Schools Out Kruger was Fuck You Kruger. I grew up in a very religious. My mom, when they were trying to book me, she said, he'll do it if you change that line, which annoying that she stepped in with religion, but Schools Out Kruger is a much better line. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
It's more iconic than Fuck You Kruger.
Yeah.
What else? I was always wigged out that my wardrobe, which was progressively dirtier and more fucked up hospital gown.
Yeah.
Always in my trailer, I was to wear matching underwear. So the underwear would also be dyed and stained and gross. It's very counterintuitive to put on dirty underwear.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for that final scene, I remember the underwear they wanted me to wear, and it was like it had been dragged through like an anti-gump, and it was just like, it was dirt, but it looked it, and it was just like skeeving me out. So I didn't wear it. I wore my underwear, or whatever was they had another fresh pair there. So if you look in the film, there's a shot where Alice picks me up off the stairs in the final showdown, and I'm wearing bright white underwear. So it's funny to me because I'm like, oh yeah, that's obviously why they would have me do that, because it stands out. But and back in the day, nobody caught it to do any like CGI or so. They
It's
just
funny
had to
how we
stick with
pick
it.
up on those little things, like we see, like how did nobody catch this?
I remember when I first met Robert, it was on set. He was shooting the Greta scene. They brought me down when she's being force fed. And I stood behind all of the action. And when they yelled cut, one of the ADs whispered to Robert, and he turned his head and he looked straight at me and he walked towards me, and he never broke character. I never knew Robert until the rap party. And then he introduced himself to me, but I only knew him as Freddy, which, again, this is why Robert Englund is not just a genre actor. He's an actor.
Oh.
He's a very fine actor.
Yes.
Because that decision to go like, I need to make sure that this kid is kind of scared of me. It'd probably be something that people would take umbrage with now and call it like some sort of like method acting, but I don't know, man. I think that stuff is all bullshit, and I think good actors get really invested.
Yeah, and he probably thought, I'm going to get a better performance out of this kid. And
he did.
Yeah,
because I had no idea who he was. Alice and Danny, or Lisa and Danny, were very cool with me. I didn't talk to them all that much. I was alone on that shoot. It was like me and Steve Hopkins, the director. And what was really cool is I remember, so my tragedy with my dad happened 6 months before I shot that.
Oh, gosh.
I think my mom was really smart to keep us busy. And for me, again, here we go, full circle. The healing on set, whilst I was going through that tragedy, helped me to feel purpose and community and hopeful. And I still was a kid and went to therapy for it a little bit. I don't think I had a great therapist, because all I remember is that I'd come to his office and my mom would leave, and then he'd be like, how you doing? Do you want to go over to Denny's? And we would just walk over to Denny's and eat food.
Oh, okay.
And so like my mom was paying for him to just like have moons over my hand.
Yeah.
Wow. What a beautiful distraction, though, from what you were going through.
Yeah.
As you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And the thing about Steve Hopkins that I thought was really cool, my birthday, so my dad dies in May, and we're shooting around Halloween, November, because my birthday is November 2nd. And I remember that he gave me a skateboard as a birthday gift. And I was big into skateboarding. It was like a really cool. And I thought that was so thoughtful. And, I was the only kid on that set. So they treated me really well. And I also was like very curious. I mean, we shot that thing in what felt like 6 airplane hangars. I'm sure they were just warehouses, but to me, they were giant. And I would get lost all the time. They would have to come and find me all the time. And especially that last sequence with all of the piping and all the different levels.
Yeah.
I would have my Freddy makeup on in my little dirty hospital gown, and they would give me some Van slip-ons to wear so I didn't step on anything, and I would be gone. And they would have to, the studio teacher would have to find me.
Now, I have a gut reaction answer to the question I'm about to ask, and I think it's because you straddle the line between fine and practical arts, but how do you think you didn't fall into the trappings of a child actor?
Who's to say I didn't?
Okay. You came out on the other side.
You mean because I don't have a heroin addiction?
Right, yes, yeah.
Yeah. The religion thing kept me scared and sheltered. I was really afraid to like even swear for a large part of my life. And then I think, you know, it's interesting. People have asked that question before, but I'm having a new sort of take on it today. Because I'm realizing that I think when I left to go to college, which there were 2 big moments in high school when I was like a junior or senior. I had done probably from the ages of 8 or 9 to like 15, I had a good run. And I just finished a movie with Karen Culkin and Charles Brilliant, which was a sequel to A Christmas Story that nobody asked for, called My Summer Story. And it was a great cast, not a great movie, but Kieran was so great to hang out with. And he didn't want to hang out with the kids that were his age. He wanted to hang out with me, and I was like 5 years older. And he's obviously turned into this award-winning actor. And you always knew that he was the guy. And I had finished that film, and I was like, I don't think I want to audition anymore. And I told my mom, I was like, I think I just want to go to high school and play basketball and make out with girls and be a teenager. And she was like, okay. She didn't push me at all, which was like pretty cool of her. And then maybe a year and a half later, when I was deciding about on like if I wanted to go to college, my best friend was going to a college out of state, and I just didn't really have any aspirations. I knew that college sounded kind of fun, but I didn't really have any desire what I wanted to do. There were little seeds of me that was like doing some deep dives in film and watching Taxi Driver and Pulp Fiction and Fargo was like my favorite movie my senior year. Still one of my top 5 favorite movies. So I was really getting into film, but I didn't really, I don't know. I just didn't have the nerve, I guess, to go to somewhere like NYU or USC or try to do that. So instead, I just went to this school out of state that had a really nice theater program because I was like, I'd done some plays, some musicals as a kid, and I got in, and it was just kind of this lucky little undergraduate program that was created by this Juilliard teacher, educator named Ken Washington, and it was in the mountains of Utah, and it was like this nationally ranked BFA program at the time that people were turning down East Coast schools to come and study. And so I just lucked into being part of that era. And I think having theater and having some sort of direction, and I don't like disappointing people. And, you know, I've brought up my family a lot on this podcast. I think because of that tragedy early in my life, even though I have probably some pretty dark wiring, I don't want to inflict that kind of pain on anybody else. So I think, to answer your question, why have I not taken certain roads? Probably that I've had sort of an idea of what I want to do in my life, and removing myself from Hollywood, going to just a weird school in Utah was, I think, really helpful. because everybody else that I auditioned with from the ages of 9 to 15 were Elijah Wood, Seth Green, Tobey Maguire, Giovanni Ribisi, young growing pains DiCaprio, and all of them got super duper famous, and I did not. Would I have if I had stayed? Maybe not. But I've always felt like a 50-year-old in my body. I've always felt in my mind and my body that I was 50 years old, even when I was 20. So I'm in no rush. And now that I'm getting closer to that age, which is crazy, it feels like everything is sort of coalescing, and a lot of hard work and a lot of just like sticking it out, keeping yourself able to pay your bills and a roof over your head while still being creatively and hopefully reinventing myself and still putting out what because I'm the hardest on myself. I don't give a script to a producer or an actor or a director of photography if I don't think it's great. I purposely have a checks and balance system in my friend group that will tell me if my shit stinks and if it's the wrong move, if it's not my best work, they will tell me. And I think it's imperative to have that. I think it's important. And I think that's also what's kept me still curious, really curious, in so much to take up painting in my 40s. Not everybody does that. That's a very long way of answering your question, my friend. But
No, it was good.
But I'll tell you what, man. I did play catch up for a while. And there was the Mormon kid in me who didn't really get to have a Raumspringer, didn't really get to have a moment to figure out who he was as a teenager in his 20s. I was like 10 years off. I made up for that in my 30s and early 40s. So now we're scaling it way back.
All right. Well, let me put a bug in your ear, Whit, and I don't want to distract you completely from your Eraserhead-esque project, but when you mentioned Shakespeare, I got really back into Shakespeare when Shakespeare in Love came out in the late 90s, and went back and reread a lot of stuff. I really got into the sonnets, and there is a lot of dark horror stuff in Shakespeare's writing. There's ghosts and all the murder and all that stuff. I think you come up with and they're all public works now, so that you can adapt however you want. I think a screenplay of mashing up some Shakespeare stuff, that's your Robert Englund kick right there.
That's how I get him?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
A movie. Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe that was the reason. Yeah, maybe. That's kind of my calling card is adaptations.
Yeah.
When I was in London, I was kind of known as the guy that would take Chekhov and Shakespeare and the Greeks and whatever. And that's kind of my calling card. I just finished adapting Hamlet 5-6 months ago. I'm really happy with that adaptation, but it is for the stage.
Yeah. And Hamlet's my absolute favorite of Shakespeare.
I've been hanging out with that. I was telling her that she was like, "Why do you love Shakespeare so much?" I was like, "Pretty weird question to ask, but okay." Like, why do you love pizza? Like, why do you love
exactly? What's not to love?
Okay, it was a genuine question, and I said, "He's forever."
It's timeless.
There's so many layers that you're never gonna find like the final answer.
Right.
It's always gonna be revealed to you, right? And so again, I had played kids and sidekicks and angsty 20-year-old hipster kids forever. And when the Oedipus idea came along, it was the first time that I was like, "Oh, I'm playing a dad," and it felt right. And then right after that, Chekhov is a big inspiration. I studied in Moscow for a little bit. I love Chekhov. And I wanted to play Uncle Vanya. So I played Uncle Vanya last year ago, November, in downtown LA in this loft with a great cast. And so you're playing a dad, you're playing an uncle. And so I was looking at Hamlet here and I was going, what is Hamlet as a 47-year-old? And I was like, oh, it's so much more fucking interesting. If you got a Timmy Chalamet playing Hamlet, he hasn't lived any life.
No.
Your mom is going to marry your uncle. Your dad is dead. You're losing your mind. all these existential questions, you're not old enough. It's got to hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
So as a 47-year-old, you go, this play is about him going for broke and going, I will set everything on fire if I don't get some answers. And as I was working on this adaptation, as I've had a couple readings, to say to be or not to be now, as opposed to when I was an undergrad, when I was 23, 24, it's very different.
There's a different way.
So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because when you're saying to be or not to be as a 24-year-old, you're immediately, I think, thinking of what hurts, right? It's present tense. And all acting should be present tense. But if you think about to be or not to be as a 47-year-old, you're thinking past, present, and future.
Right. Yeah. The
And
end.
the epiphanies of there's the rub is such a core at a very visceral level, a very raw nerve ending level. Those things become much more rooted and honest, I think.
Yeah. No, as a 50-year-old, just saying to be or not to be, you're talking about the end. This is it.
A couple months ago, I was on a run and I went, oh, maybe it's not about do I live or do I die? Maybe he's asking to be or not to be as existence. Like Baba Ramdas, higher consciousness, what is it to exist? Not should I take my life or should I not? He gets to that. But maybe the initial kernel is, what does it mean to fucking exist?
I didn't know we were going to
lecture.
get so deep today.
Hey, that's me, baby. That's the Scorpio boy.
So the last question that we always ask on this podcast is, who is your favorite final person in a horror movie, the survivor? And we say person because we love the final girl, but we just say person.
It's me, man.
Perfect.
It's me or it's Shelley Duvall
Oh,
in The Shining.
that's the first time anybody has given that one. Can you guess what the tops are?
Totally. You got the Scream girls,
Yeah, we've had enough.
Naz. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom.
Yeah, no, we have had that. Laurie Strode and Heather Langenkamp.
Her. Shelley Duvall, man. I watched that film on 35 millimeter. And it's just it's perfect. And she's perfect. And I know there's a lot of controversy with how that role is achieved. And she stood by it her whole life. And it's a perfect movie for a reason.
I kind of wonder, because I know it's controversy about Stephen King not liking the adaptation, but I wonder if there's just a tinge of jealousy there because it is such a good fucking movie.
No, that's totally what it is. Objectively, any film cinephile this is an amazingly executed movie, script, performance, visuals, design, tone. It's immaculate.
Yeah.
So for him to not like it is a little bit just being shitty, because it's Misery's great, but is Misery perfect? No.
Yeah.
No, there's tons of dips in Misery, and I love Misery. Yeah, I don't know. You're giving me thoughts about me. I don't want to be arrogant about it, but I don't know why there isn't a Reddit petition for there to be a streaming series called Son Kruger. I don't know why that's not happening.
Yeah.
We don't need to recast Freddy.
No.
Open up the world, right?
Yeah. Stranger
I
things
still
have
got
happened.
this weird, creepy face.
I wouldn't say creepy, but you definitely have very distinct eyes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
This has been a total pleasure. Thank you for doing this. And I promise you that a piece of your art is going to be hanging on our walls sometime this year.
Yeah, that was a very quick hour.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That was one of those conversations where you can feel how much someone has lived and how much of that ends up in their work. Talking with Whit Hertford, what stayed with me is this idea that creativity isn't just something you do when you feel inspired. It's something you return to when things feel difficult. Whether it's painting, writing, acting, or just even cooking a meal, it becomes a place you can go when the world feels like a little too much. And that really is what we're always circling back to here. That horror, art, storytelling, all of it can give us a way to process what we're carrying. And hearing him talk about losing his dad at the same age I lost my mom, there's just an understanding there that doesn't need a lot of explanation. You find your ways to cope, and sometimes those end up shaping your entire life. Thanks again to Whit for being so open with us and for reminding us that healing doesn't always look the same, but it often comes from the things we create. Because at the end of the day, is horror good for mental wellness? Of course it is.